Welcome to Behind the Mic, a podcast from the Concrete Foundations Association featuring discussions with some of the leading professionals in today's concrete industry. This series features interviews recorded at the World of Concrete 2020 conference in Las Vegas. And in this episode, Ryan Olson, Director of Marketing for LigChine, discusses the industry's move toward embracing technology to tackle issues like labor shortages and improve efficiency and quality. Let's jump right in.
Welcome to another episode of Behind the Mic by the CFA. I'm Jim Beatty, Executive Director, and we're sitting down here towards the end of the day, World of Concrete 2020. Good friend of mine, a lot of experience in the industry. Ryan Olson, now Director of Marketing for LigChine. Did I pronounce that right?
LigChine.
LigChine, I knew it as soon as I said it. So Ryan Olson, Director of Marketing for LigChine, and he's part of the exciting new technology that is here at the show. Ryan, thanks for sitting down for a few moments with me on our podcast.
You're welcome, Jim. It's a pleasure to be here.
I told Ryan as he walked into the booth today that he's put me behind the mic so many different times with his former role in Concrete Contractor Magazine that I couldn't wait to get him and give him a chance to talk to you guys that might be listening to this podcast. Ryan, let's start off with something simple. How's the show for you guys this year?
The show's been wonderful this year. In fact, it's been so busy that it's been the busiest show in a few years that we've seen.
Yeah.
So we have two booth locations this year, one outside as always, and then one in the South Hall. It's been incredibly successful.
So you know us well. We're an association of concrete contractors all across the country, and you and I have had a great relationship over the years educating concrete contractors. You've now made a big switch over from publishing to now being invested in bringing technology to concrete contractors. Tell me a little bit about your appreciation for the Concrete Contractor Network and just what you've built over the years that put you here.
Yeah, it's something about concrete contractors. They're a special bunch. There's a very skilled set of individuals who have really embraced technology in a variety of different forms and continue to look at other ways where they can continue to be more efficient in not only their work but also with their crews as well. This is a special industry, and what I've really enjoyed over the years is that the contractors that I've ever run into really share their knowledge with you. And I think that's the same with the CFA members or any other contractors that are members of other associations. It's really great.
Yeah, everybody's facing the number one issue off their lips, labor. Labor shortage, can't find people to work. Nobody wants to work doing heavy tasks, and really the intense applications that have given the concrete industry its basis for so many years. How is LigChine addressing that right now?
Yeah, so in LigChine, we're in our 13th year here in 2020, and how we address that is that we have a series of products. We've got a line called the Screed Saver series, which is a boom screed that's laser guided, if you will, and much of that work allows the concrete contractor, while placing their concrete, to be able to operate these machines with a remote control and make their placement of their slab flat, very level, with the help of either LPS or GPS. In addition, we have launched a new drive-in screen called the Spider Screen, which is guided much of the same technology, although the difference with this one is that it actually goes into the mud, and it's got zero turn radius and can fit into small spaces. It can also be on upper decks, which seems to be a really emerging market right now as you look at some of the commercial construction out there.
Yeah, I agree with that. That sounds like equipment that is really kind of specialized for where the sweet spot is for our contractors. So I'm anxious to get my hands on it as well and see the reactions. But it's not all that new, and at least in terms of it's brand new, you've just unveiled it, but your relationship with concrete contractors is proving already that the market's ready for this product.
Absolutely, and one of the things that I've noticed around the show here too, as I've walked around, is that you see more and more manufacturers that are embracing technology and moving away from some of the older, if you will, manual way of doing things, and implementing technology, whether that's through lasers, whether that's through software, whether that's designed equipment that is really helping the contractor, again, achieve the same results, if not better results than what they've normally been accustomed to over the last 20 years.
Yeah, and I was going to ask you about that, because obviously labor is the first thing on our lips, and we really want to solve the labor equation, but it's also about quality. And when you trust the equipment that you're bringing online, they're seeing a higher quality, aren't they?
They absolutely are. And really, when a contractor embraces equipment that has some of this implemented technology, the quality does improve, but it also improves the reputation of the said contractor that's using it. So it'll bring them more jobs and continue to make them more successful.
So our listeners, I believe I know my listener profile pretty well, but our listeners are a lot of concrete contractors across the country and ranging from different age groups, owners to maybe first time getting involved in the market, kind of looking into technology. You've had a chance to work with a lot of these contractors that are listening to this podcast over the years. Tell me just a little bit about your perspective of the networking and the engagement advantage of being with contractors.
Yeah, I kind of touched upon that earlier in terms of the contractors' desire to share their knowledge. And what I have found over the years is it doesn't matter which type, whether you're with foundations and floors or if you're doing walls or you're doing decorative polishing. But when these contractors of these different disciplines get together, they come to find that they have a common core of skill sets and a common core of knowledge and accessibility.
Right.
And really, they're there to help make this industry better than what it was when they came into it, and I continue to see that happening on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, it's great. It is a great industry. Are you finding with your equipment that there's just a strong desire to be hands-on with it? You want to be more than just kind of looking at it in the booth this year?
Absolutely, and what we've seen this year not necessarily the folks that are just, oh, look at that, but oh, how does that work? What does that look like? Whether they've been introduced to our Boom Screech, which is what I consider our legacy products, they built our company day one, to even the new Spider Screech. They're always a little bit more curious about how does that work, and we are offering demonstrations this year in our booth outside with the Boom Screech.
Nice.
And I ran into a couple of contractors here actually earlier today who just approached me just out of the blue and said, what is that? How does that work? And I did my best to explain it to them. And then all of a sudden they turned it on and demo started. I said, oh, here, come with me. Let's sit and watch. And the gentleman was completely blown away. He said, I've never seen something like that before, which is really incredible. And I think it's a testament to our market and our industry that technology is here, and contractors who embrace it and are curious about it will find the benefits down the road.
Yeah, the innovation and the technology is escalating nearly breakneck pace. And so it's a real challenge for the concrete contractor to feel like they're up to speed, I think.
Oh, absolutely.
So this event is really important for that. Do you get a sense as the contractors are walking around and intersecting with your booth, both inside and outside, that the light comes on when they actually spend the time to stop and absorb what you're trying to tell them?
Yeah, absolutely. I've spent time in both booths and over the last few days. And what's really interesting is you see the guys and the gals that scratch their head, and then they kind of watch, and they just kind of listen in or watch some of the video that we've got playing in our booths, and the light bulb does go off. And I think one of the things that I think is great about the world of concrete as a show is, especially over the last 3 to 4 years, every year there seems to be a new piece of technology that is introduced or gets better from the previous introduction, and I continue to see that, and I think it's just really neat to see that the concrete industry is starting to catch up with other industries where technology is here, and I'm afraid I'd be remiss if I not say this, but as contractors, if you don't embrace technology, you'll be left behind, and we don't want to see that. I know Jim doesn't want to see his membership see that, because your membership too amongst your manufacturers, they have technology implementations in a variety of different products that in the end of the day will help, may not necessarily solve your labor problem, but it will help you at least move along with the times. It will help you become a better contractor. It will help you be more efficient and more profitable, because you'll get more jobs done in the day as opposed to the old way of doing things.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. And I'm always amazed when I get a chance to look in deep to a concrete contractor in this industry, just how much technology they embrace. And so really rather large equipment and very sensitive equipment as well. They're not shying away from it. Technology and highly tuned technology, not something that they're afraid to bring in and put into employ and to put to work for them.
Absolutely. And I think one of the things I would say to a contractor who might be a little apprehensive about it is, I know a lot of the manufacturers that have this, and Ligsheet included, with some hands-on training. And for us, we want to make sure that if you purchase a machine, you walk away with not only the machine, but the knowledge you can operate it in the field yourself, and to make sure that you get the support that you need, but it can also continue to grow with the industry as it is. And it's amazing. It's really amazing to see.
Yeah. So over the years, as you and I have worked together, we've had a chance to collaborate on a lot of articles that really feature concrete contractors in a way that you get to know the heart of them. What made them successful? What took them from failure? We talked a lot about that throughout the week on this podcast, about that issue that failure is one of the best roads to success. And another thing that's come up for me a lot this week is a phrase, the trust value equation. And it's really easy in a show of this size with so much to look at, and you know that the whole purpose of a guy like you in a booth like this is to sell, to get the product in the hands of that person. It's not necessarily the greatest environment for trust value equation. I'm curious just about your background, all those stories, all those articles, getting to know the heart of the concrete contractor. Does that help you as kind of validate that trust value earlier on with them?
Absolutely it does. And I think that if you can show a success with a piece of equipment or a business strategy or a particular way of doing things, and you show it that another contractor has had success with it, you'll have success with it too if you have the right training in mind and the right contacts. And within this industry, like we touched upon before, everybody likes to share their information.
Yeah.
And again, that's what's really neat about this market itself. While you might be competitors with other contractors, you should trust those manufacturers and you should trust the contractors that are using those particular products and technologies out there, because we're all here to help each other.
Right.
Regardless of what discipline you're in. And then, again, that's really important, I think, as the industry continues to grow and evolve and continue to make its footprint in this country and in the world.
You've built a lot of friends over the years also in technology, right?
Yeah.
Working alongside of, and I'm just looking in, again, around the ceiling here and seeing names that I know that you've spent a lot of time with and helped them and feature them and advance their message in the industry. Now you're kind of a graceful peer, a friendly rival, and sometimes more than that. How does that new role fit for you?
That's an interesting question, Jim. It's really interesting because I came into this market not knowing a whole heck of a lot,
Okay.
but over the years I've learned a lot, and I've been able to just network and make some really, really close friends who are continuing to be my friends. And moving into the position that I am now, the knowledge that I have learned from my prior role, I think has really helped me be successful in what I'm doing now. And really what it is an extension in a different direction,
Yep.
but an extension of what I was doing, and now just serving the market in a different way. And I'm really, really proud of the work I've done prior, and I'm really proud of the work that I'm doing now, and really looking forward to the future.
How important would you say is it for concrete contractors to let their guard down enough to be vulnerable and allow a product manufacturer, a technology like yours, to see into windows of need and become a partner in innovation with them?
I think it's very, very important. I think that as a contractor, if you let your guard down a little bit, you're going to be able to see and understand what's going on in the world around you. A lot of times we hear, if there's a manufacturer or sales rep that's going in a particular area, they're going door to door to door to door with different contractors, and the contractor says, I don't really want to share any of my information because I don't want my competitor to know. Guess what? They'll sell a machine to you down here, and then they'll sell a machine to your other competitor 10 miles away. And competition is great for the marketplace, but at the same time, you're going to lose that out. And so if you are vulnerable enough to talk to your competition and vulnerable enough to learn the technology that is around you and that makes sense for you, you've got nothing but continue to build upon the success that you've already built upon. That's really, really important.
Yeah, I agree. And I think I probably get a chance to evidence that more here. Certainly our event, we host our own convention during the summertime, but it's these major networking events where I start to see that really begin to happen. And I'm sure that maybe it's a little more challenging if you were to stop by someone's business and introduce yourself, kind of a cold call type of a thing. Maybe even with one of these spider screeds, in the bed of your truck to show them that this is something great for them to grab a hold of. Not that you do that, but this is the right environment for it. But it takes a lot for the contractor to get here sometimes.
It is, and I think that's where it's also vitally important that if you're a contractor who's not a member of the CFA or any of the other associations that are out here, there's a great deal of benefit to that. And that benefit is to be able to network with manufacturers,
Right.
and to make yourself vulnerable and have that window of opportunity open. It's also that networking opportunity to be amongst other contractors who may not do the same type of work that you do, but you can share your skill sets, you can share your experiences and your pains. And one of the things with the CFA that I have seen and witnessed over the years is listening to some of your member contractors. talk about with a great deal of pride of I had this project, and boy was it a bugger, and I got caught up into this, and I had this issue and that issue, and how was I going to solve it? And ultimately they did, and we're very proud at the end of the day and at the end of the tunnel, and it became a project that had been submitted to a CFA award during the annual awards. But the learning aspect of being able to be around a supportive manufacturing audience as well as a supportive contractor audience, and the support and benefits that the CFA has to offer is by far and away something that will continue to provide an ROI for you as you continue to do your work.
Now, I just want to clarify, I didn't pay him for that commercial, but I agree, lock, stock, and barrel with that statement. I think it's so valuable. I know that relationships between concrete contractors are so important.
Yes.
And now you're a manufacturer, right? And so you have that opportunity to take someone that's already a good customer and proving that technology. How valuable is knowing that relationship between that contractor and your potential next customer in the process of education?
Yeah, it's incredibly valuable. And I think what it is, it takes that real-time, the real-life, real-time opportunity to say, contractor ABC has several models of our piece of equipment. Here's how they were successful with it. And I see that you, contractor D, are in perform similar type of work, and this is how you can be successful. And if we can continue to connect those contractors with each other, even whether it's to the manufacturer like us or just word of mouth, like, hey, go talk to this guy. I have a phone number. You can continue to reach out and provide that opportunity that they'll reach out. Again, it goes back to just contractors love sharing their information and their experiences. And it just makes the whole world, it makes the whole industry that much more richer.
And so in that vein, have you ever been surprised? Have you already been surprised, or can you think of a time where you've been surprised where they've beat you to the punch, where contractor B already knows about what contractor A's done with you and just is waiting for you to come see him?
Yes, absolutely. It happens more often than it's not, and I get really excited to share some of the things that we have going on, and it's actually happened to me at this show here, where I've been bumping into some of my old contractor friends that I've met over the years and saying, hey, you got to see this, or I already saw that. And it's,
You spoiled it for me.
Exactly. Now, what do I have to talk to you about? Although there's always something.
Right. So what do you think, what's the future for Ligsheen?
Ligsheen right now, we are poised for growth. There is, with our equipment, as I mentioned, this is our 13th year in business. In those 13 years, we have produced 5 different products, and each have their own place and their own application to some degree. And we're looking to continue to be here in the marketplace and support the contractor, support the flat work contractor, support the foundation contractor that also is performing their own flat work. And we're not going anywhere. We've got technology that we're currently using is continually being advanced with some of our partners that we work with to develop our products. And I think that the future is rich and strong and bright. And really, frankly, given the environment that we are in today, I don't see anything happening but continued success and growth.
So you really are in a market that some would label as the sexy side of concrete, right?
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Bells, whistles, equipment, and noise, right?
Yes. And boy, our equipment can create some results that I haven't seen if ever. And that's really, really exciting. I only can see that continue.
And I think the important thing to me, one of the important things here is thinking of the next generation workforce that we're trying to engage. The fact that they've grown up knowing nothing but smartphones, computer technology. In probably 5 years, we're going to have kids that don't know anything different than saying, Alexa, answer me this. Siri, answer me that. So how important do you think this technology is to engage that next workforce, to encourage them to see not only is concrete the craftsman industry that it can remain, but it is finely tuned and it's engaging intellectually?
Well, and that's actually really interesting because it ties into an experience I had just a couple of days ago. I ran into a trainer who has a particular course that he teaches, and he had expressed to me that he tells his students all the time, there's all this technology out there. And he was actually referred to some other technologies, but he also referred to the laser guided screed technology that Ligsheen has on our pieces of equipment. And we have a video running in our booth, and he saw it and he said, Ryan, he says, I need this video. I want to use this in some of my coursework that I show my students. Can I use it? And of course, we say, yeah, and he says, but I teach these kids even now, this new generation that we're trying to get into this market, and they say, no, that doesn't exist anymore. And these are those iPhone kids. These are the Alexa kids. These are the ones that, don't have an idea what a rotary telephone is.
A cassette.
or a cassette, or a VHS. Our downfall was ejecting the VHS tape, and it was all over the floor. And,
You mean you actually used to buy movies
right.
on a media?
And now the downfall is, oh no, the router's down.
Right.
So it's really interesting, and that I think is really telling of this industry, or of the younger generation that we're trying to get into. And the fact that this gentleman approached us and said, hey, this is what I'm seeing in my classroom, and I need to be able to prove it, because he said his students didn't believe it when he would preach and preach and preach. And so I think as an industry as a whole, we need to continue to get behind that and continue to share those types of technological advances, how it's making your life better, just like Alexa or your iPhone or your iPad or tablet.
Right. Well, fantastic. And so, again, this podcast is really aimed at you, the concrete contractor, as a way of sharing stories from your history and your future and generational change. And so I appreciate the opportunity to just tell you a little bit of a message about a technology that I'm seeing that is continuing to reshape the future for you next generation contractors, and for those of you that may be current generation owners, and you may already be a second generation owner in your business. You know it full well that you've got to continue to advance your own business to stay ahead of your competitors. And I want to encourage you to look at LigChain and what they can do for you. Brian, I'm very happy with the friendship we have maintained over these years. I wish you the best of luck in your new position, and we'll have a chance to maybe do more of this down the road.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jim. I really appreciate the opportunity, and same to you. I appreciate our friendship and the growth opportunities that you and the CFA have allowed me to.
Thank you. And thanks for listening. Check in another podcast as we get set to continue to bring them to you. We'll have more from World of Concrete 2020 and beyond here on Behind the Mic by the CFA.
Behind the Mic is brought to you by the Concrete Foundations Association. You can learn more about us and about becoming one of our #CFA Concrete Pros by visiting our website, cfaconcretepros.org. If you're a concrete professional interested in being part of a future podcast, reach out to us by email to info@cfaconcretepros.org to start a conversation. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on Behind the Mic.